Greetings. I'm Professor Jagdish Sheth at Emory University. Thank you for inviting me to the 12th International Conference on Issues and Challenges of Doctoral Research. My focus will be United States. In 2022, US granted 55,000 doctorate degrees in 1 year. It was a record year, and 2023 data, which are likely to come soon, will exceed that number. The reason for such a large concentration is 4 areas. Biggest one is engineering, followed by biology and biomedical sciences, followed by physical sciences like physics and chemistry, and ultimately social sciences. These 4 areas dominate the output of PhDs in America. The doctoral research and doctorate degrees are always very, very dominant in the US culture since World War II. And this is a record number that I just shared with you. What makes America so good about generating doctoral research? I've identified 5-6 areas. The first one is very clearly large amount of government grant money between National Science Foundation, NIH, National Institute of Health, and many other endowments by government. Our estimates are running that between the government and non-government, like foundations, it is probably $100 billion of research contribution through grants to universities as well as corporate R&D or corporate laboratories. Second and very important one is that it's a research-oriented reward system. Research dominates as opposed to just teaching, and more faculty and the doctoral students are recognized, given awards, etc. for the research excellence, not just teaching excellence. There's a very strong infrastructure investment, not only in terms of library and laboratories, but also land. Agricultural sciences, for example, requires large tracts of land to cultivate crops, animal husbandry, etc., which is America is blessed with large land tracts allocated to higher education. Publications in top journals is another major incentive. You are able to publish if the research is done in the US, because most of the top journals in the world in sciences especially are based out of United States origin, like American Chemistry Society, for example, IIIT. I can give you examples after examples. Next area is worldwide international students come to study here for the doctorate, graduate education. Not for the undergraduate as much, although undergraduate numbers are large, but primarily for graduate education. Most of them come under research grants. And again, that is very interesting. More importantly, if you are a doctorate and you join an academic institution, it is very easy to get you a green card or permanent residency. That's a key advantage, and many students come here not only just to study and go back to their countries, but permanently settle into America, which is a major gain for the US. And the last one is increasing collaboration always has been there between corporate labs like IBM at one time, Bell Labs at one time, today it will be Google, Microsoft, etc. Laboratories of the corporations collaborate with the academic institutions. To top it off, US is definitely a capitalistic society, and therefore it allows entrepreneurship from discovery and inventions. And many students and their professors often think about starting a business on the side while they are actually doing the research. Major incentive, therefore, to attract students into the doctoral program. This sounds very good, but there's a dark side to the whole thing. So what are the dark side aspects of the doctoral education? First major dark side is what I call academic slavery. Grant receivers, principal investigators, quite often keep students, especially foreign students, who are totally at their mercy much longer than they should. They keep them postponing their doctoral thesis, for example. There's a major accusation that this is more intentional rather than accidental. There is also a rise of great amount of clinical depression. It is estimated, at least in management, which I know a little more, 50% of all students go through clinical depression, and some of them can never come out, especially after their qualifying exams, once they're into the dissertation stage. In fact, this has led to student unionization. Many universities are now unionized, surprisingly, by unions like United Auto Workers, which are hard, physical, blue-collar work unions are unionizing graduate students at many universities, including private universities. There is unfortunately a legacy mindset. The role of the advisor still is that he is the guru, he is the master, he knows everything, as opposed to learning from students. And that comes in the way quite often because the originality and the intuitive aspects of the young mind is not recognized or is not encouraged in some fashion. You are a part of a research program, and that comes in the way of more creativity, innovation. Rising cost of living. I know Europe is extremely expensive to live, but so is America now. And the stipend that you get as a graduate student is just not enough. No matter how hard universities try, the compensation formula needs to be changed to retain them rather than drop them out. There is also a too much, in fact, politics of grant giving. Depending on the administration that gets elected, sometimes grant money is given much larger, more liberally. Other times, grant money is basically dried up by the government policy changes. Unpredictability of grant giving mechanisms is a major issue. And the last one, surprisingly, many students are what we call ABD, absent beyond everything other than thesis primarily. So they usually do not complete their thesis, their fast qualifying exams, and they are not able to complete their thesis. In fact, at one time, it was estimated that more than 50% of the doctoral students would be ABD, as we call it, all but doctoral dissertation. So what can the U.S. do to sustain its leadership in doctoral research? The first important area is that we are all now finding that there is so much discovery and invention. How can we commercialize it? There's a huge commercialization opportunity where the principal investigator and the students working under him or her can actually have some revenue creation, just like we are doing with athletes, where college athletes actually can now be endorsers of products and earn money while they're going through the college education. Second one is more joint ventures with corporate labs. Not just collaboration, but creating separate entities where the corporate labs and their scientists contribute. They provide facilities, they provide access to the market, and the academics contribute at the same time. That is very important message that we are finding very appealing, that both sides of the coin can collaborate quite a lot. We are now finding also that rather than rely on government grants, we have very large-scale foundations. And many of these foundations, rather than doing the traditional serving the poor, serving the unserved society, are now investing in pure R&D, basic research. And those have no strings attached. They are done for social purposes quite often, including commercial viability. So we are recommending very strongly for foundations to invest heavily into basic research, not just applied research. And these are mega foundations like Bill Gates and Melinda Gates Foundation, for example, Rockefeller Foundation at one time. I can give you names after names. Collaborate with fresh foreign universities. We are finding more and more collaboration with foreign universities gives you an alternative, which means providing different perspectives on the same problem area. So German scientists, Russian scientists, Chinese scientists, Indian scientists, British scientists, Canadian scientists, American scientists can collaborate. It is more common in corporate labs than it is in academic institutions. But strong recommendation that collaboration model, so you have co-principal investigators, one from America, one from India, for example. And India is a very interesting situation because if you take the Manipal hospital group, they have living, breathing data, surprisingly, for two major diseases. One is the AIDS vaccine, virus, for example, and they are showing the progress of that one, which is more interesting to study even more. And the other one is the upper torso cancer of the mouth. These data are large-scale data, and therefore one can do a lot of scientific understanding, data analysis, etc. So our recommendation is to create more collaboration with foreign universities, not just the US universities collaborating with US universities, as they've done in agricultural sciences generally. We also believe that there ought to be a fundraising mechanism. Universities raise billions of dollars annually, but it is more for educating undergraduates, giving them scholarships. There is little interest in terms of funding totally dedicated endowment for doctoral research as a supplemental thing, so you get money above and beyond grant money, for example, which has some limitations about how much the doctoral students can be paid, etc. And the last one is most important one. Cycle time is just too long to graduate as a doctoral student. It should not take 6 years, 7 years quite often, 4 or 5 years. It can be compressed as a cycle, so productivity of generating doctoral student increases in the nation. There's a critical shortage at the same time, so the demand is very good, other than maybe humanities or liberal arts. So I think it's very possible that US is likely to maintain its leadership in the world. Again, I apologize for not being there in person. Thank you very much.